Good morning, Hustle family. So I've been getting a lot of requests for this video, and we're going to do it today. So if you've been watching the last video, then you know we gave you the code to generate your 10,000 random NFT collection. But one of the main questions I've been getting is how do you actually make the layers, right? So we know that you have to put together all these layers to put them together using that code. If you haven't watched that video, I'll throw the card right up there so you guys can check that out. But you need the layers. So I'm not an artist, bear with me, but what we're going to do here is you can use anything from Microsoft Paint to Adobe Photoshop Pro. We're going to be using a program called My Paint, and it's completely free, so anyone out there can use it, right? And if you mint your NFTs on Polygon, you don't have to pay anything for the entire process, and that's the whole goal. $0 entry fee, get your collection out on OpenSea. So we're using My Paint, and let me actually open a new project here. Now, once you're in My Paint, the first thing we're going to do is go up here to this frame button. Now, if you're using the code, that I had put out, we're going to want to make sure that we have 1,000 by 1,000 pixels. So we're going to go 1,000 by 1,000 and hit OK. Okay. Alright, so we have our 1000 by 1000 pixel frame, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this symmetry tool, which I'll throw right in the middle here, right there, and then we're going to grab the brush, right? So the first thing we want to do is make our base layer. So if you're thinking pudgy penguins, we're going to make the penguin layer itself. But we're not going to do a penguin, let's do something like let's say we do a skull. Again, I'm not an artist. Let's make sure I have the tool that I want, which I do. And let's go ahead and just kind of terribly draw out a skull right here. Again, I'm not an artist, so don't judge me for that. Okay, so we have a basic skull layer here. We're going to trash that. And this is our first layer. Of course, you can make it anything you want. And then let's go ahead and give it a color. So let's go ahead and click the fill tool here. And then on the bottom left, we will choose our first color. So let's go ahead and do this red and fill it. Okay, now you can go through each little pixel here with that and fill out the red, but for the sake of this video, we're not going to take all the time to go out and actually fill these sides. So we have our first layer. Okay, now one thing that you can do next is on the bottom right here, click plus layer, and you want to make sure you do this for every single layer. Another thing we're going to do is actually remove the background. That way we can put any color in the background that we want. So now we're going to go ahead and do, let's say, some eyes. So the next layer we do is going to be eyes. Let's go ahead and make sure we have a black color here. And let's go ahead and let's do something crazy. Let's just do some wild eyes like this. Okay. And now we can make these eyes a different color. Let's go ahead and say, let's do something crazy like a lime green or a neon green. Okay. And then now if you want a different set of eyes, we can go plus layer. We can hide those eyes that we just did. And let's go back to black. And let's draw some different eyes. We can do something like that right there. And then let's say we make these eyes like a goldish color. Okay, so we have 2 layers of eyes. We can then hit a plus layer, hide those eyes. We can then do a nose. So let's make it black again. And then go ahead to our brush tool, and we can make a nose here. And let's go ahead and make that like a grayish color. We're going to take our fill tool and fill that. And then now let's go ahead and do something fun. Let's add another layer. And you can see on the right here, each layer is its own individual thing. So you want to make sure that each time you create a new layer, you're hitting this add new layer button. Because what's going to happen is if you take this layer right here and you start drawing on this, it's not going to be a unique layer. It's going to be stuck to those constraints or to those things you drew on it. So every layer you do, you want to make it new, and you want to make sure you have your frame on the same pixel ratio. That means when you go to generate it, it's all going to show up in the right spot. You're not going to have eyes showing up way off to the top left or way off to the bottom right. So let's go ahead and do one more layer here. Let's grab a black, and let's go ahead and draw like a bottom mouth thing here. Okay, and then we can choose a color for this. Let's go ahead and do like, let's just do like a purple, just for the sake of having fun with it. We'll choose our fill tool. Okay, and then as you can see here, I drew it on this layer, right? So that's now one whole piece, not something that I wanted. I think it's funny that I made the mistake as I was talking about it. So we're going to hit plus layer. And we keep this base layer here, but we want to make sure that we're always drawing on a new layer. Even though we have this base layer, we have it here just for reference, right? So let's go ahead and grab a black, grab our draw tool, and let's do that again. Okay, and we'll grab like, let's just grab this color here and fill that. Right, so what we have now, if we randomize it, is we have nose, we have eyes, we have a jawbone, and we can go ahead and add another layer, and you can add as many as you want. Let's go ahead and add something on top here, like a headpiece. We can go ahead and do, let's say we do like a crown. This is going to be terrible. Or let's say flames. We could do like a flame crown thing here. And then all we want to do is go fill. I'm going to go red for the base. Now if you're wanting to do something like flames, you could do red for the base, and then you can grab a different color, like let's go white. We're going to increase the size of our brush. Okay, and let's go ahead and do that. And then we can grab a yellow. And again, this is done really fast. Of course, if you were doing this, you'd go out and fine detail all these bottom parts out. And then you can grab, say, like an orange. And then, you can make a crown like that. Now, once you hide all these layers, each one is going to be individual. So we have our base layer, and then I would basically create, say, 10 different mouth styles, 10 different eye styles, 10 different nose styles, and 10 different head styles. And then once you get all those, you can go and follow the other video to throw them all into the code. Now, to actually put these into the code, when you file and save, what you're going to do is you're going to actually find the actual folder that generative art node is in, or whatever you're using. So in my case, I'm going to go users, Acon, and we're going to go generative art node, which is what we're using. We're going to select our input folder. Alright, and in our input folder, we will actually create a new folder, and we will name this, let's go skull base. We will create, and then we can save it in here. Okay, so you would do the same thing with your eyes, then you could create the eye base. Sorry, my dogs are going off. And every time you create one of these layers, you will save it in its own unique folder. So if we go here and we remove the background, we would save this as skull eyes. So then we would go File, Save, we'd go back into our program files and then find, let's see, let's go here, users, Acon, generative art node, go to input, and then we would just create a new skull eyes. Okay, and then we would save it inside of skull eyes, so on and so forth. You do it with skull nose, or really whatever you're creating, and then when you run it through the program, it will generate all these random different layers for you. So it's a fun thing to mess around with. You have to make sure your placement is correct, so you want to make sure that you never lose that 1000 by 1000 pixel frame, or whatever it is that you're creating. Of course, we threw this together in 10 seconds, so it's not going to be fine-tuned, it's not going to be super cool. It is what it is. So you can go in here and draw whatever you want. You can do the same thing if you're using, say, Photoshop. You just go through and make sure that you create all of your layers completely individually. Okay, make sure they're all on the same pixel frame. Make sure they're all located where you want them to be located. And then once you run the generative art program, it will throw all those together. So let's show you what that looks like. Alrighty, so here we are actually inside of VS Code, and you can see right over here, now that we saved all of those in the generative art node, they are showing up right there just as we wanted them to. Now the only other thing we need to do is go into the config.js and change all of these ID names to the actual PNG files, right? So instead of tiki base, we need skull base. Instead of tiki eyes, we need skull eyes. And once you do that, you can run your node index.js and start generating these images. Now if you want a better tutorial on actually how to generate these images, again, the card will be up top and you can watch that video. I definitely appreciate it. Almost 200,000 views now on that video generating them. But I really hope this helped, and stay tuned for more video, guys. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe.